Hello, I'm Liselle Sambury. I'm a traditionally published author, and welcome to this mid-year writing project update for 2022. I did this last year and I thought it was really good because then I'm not just waiting until the end of the year to be like, well, here's what I did the whole year. I can come into the middle and share with you what I've worked on so far this year, what I plan to work on for the rest of this year, and also just give you a high level, how do I feel about each project, and that way you can kind of get an idea of everything that I'm working on for the year at this point in June. So I'm going to start with my contracted projects. So these are projects in which I have signed a contract with a publisher to work on them and am therefore contractually obligated to meet deadlines. And so these are all of these projects. So I'm going to try and go kind of in order, or as much in order as I can. But I'm going to start with Blood Like Fate. So Blood Like Fate is the sequel to Blood Like Magic. I will preface this also a pause to say that I'm just talking about my works in progress, so works that I'm actively working on. So Blood Like Magic is my first book, and of course it exists and things are happening for it, but I'm already done it, so I'm not going to talk about it, because otherwise anytime I do these updates I'm going to have to talk about a bunch of past stuff. So anyway, Blood Like Fate, the sequel to Blood Like Magic, it is finished. So I wasn't sure if I was going to have to do a second round of past pages, because with Blood Like Magic I actually did 2 rounds of past pages, which is that final stage where you see your book kind of in the final iteration on a PDF and you make your last little notes for that one. So for Blood Like Magic I did that twice, I think because I made bigger changes in the first round of past pages, whereas in Blood Like Fate I didn't really do that. I think they were quite minor changes, and so that's probably why I didn't have to do a second round of past pages. And at this point, like, I don't think I'm going to suddenly get a round of past pages. Like, we're like nearly 2 months out, so I'm pretty sure it's done and dusted, which is great. Feelings about Blood Like Fate, complicated, difficult. I think it's challenging for me because I feel very much that I'm comparing my second book experience to my first book experience. And I do feel like there was a lot more lead up buzz for Blood Like Magic, and like seeing like articles come out where the book was featured, or like lists come out where the book was featured, and like things like that. I feel like there was a lot more of that for Blood Like Magic than there is for Blood Like Fate. And that might not necessarily be true. That might just be like something in my mind that isn't real, but it feels that way. And so it's a little bit difficult in some ways for me with the book. The book itself, like when I did my last read, I was like, yeah, this is really good. I'm really happy with this. I think this is fantastic. I think this is a great sequel. And then as time has passed, because I haven't really gotten much feedback other than like the people that read it, like my beta readers and my agent and my editor, it's not like I've really been hearing too much otherwise. And so that in combo with like feeling like there's not a ton of as much media attention as there was for my first book, it's kind of been difficult. It's been a little womp in that way, but I know that people who read Blood Like Magic are really excited for the sequel, so that's really great. But I do notice a difference, and I think I've noticed that generally about a lot of authors with their sequels, and so I was in some ways prepared for that. You know, your debut and the first book in a series is really big, flashy, and like it's got its own sparkle and shine to it. Whereas the sequel, it's kind of like you're really technically appealing to a smaller audience because they had to have read the first book to get to this point. And so I think it ends up having kind of a different feel and amount of attention and things like that. And so I think I'm just adjusting to that. And so it's made it in some ways kind of difficult because I've been like, does anybody care about my book? But I'm sure there are people that care about the book. There are regularly people that are like, I'm so excited for the sequel. I think it feels like a different experience for my debut, and so I'm just kind of adjusting to that. So that's kind of how Blood Like Fate is going. Next is Butcherbirds, which is no longer the title, but I haven't revealed it yet. But as of the day I'm posting this, which should be June 7th, we are so close. So close. So very, very close to the reveal. So close to this reveal. But I wanted to do this update earlier in June, so I didn't want to like make it, you know, a different date so that it could be like, you've already heard the new title and all this stuff. So yeah, it's a tiny bit more of a wait, but so very close to finding everything out. I promise you were so close to it. So yeah, Butcherbirds, I have finished copy edits on it, so the only thing left to do is past pages, which should come, I think, quite a bit further down the line, and so that will happen later on. So yeah, pretty much like I've done the big things. Like, to me, the past pages will just be like little edits. I really did my best to like really super hardcore read through the copy edit version and like to make sure that I was really only making my big changes there, because I really need to get better about avoiding having to make any larger changes in past pages, because it's just more difficult. It's more difficult and like more awkward to like try and get in a bigger change at that point. So I did work really hard to make sure my bigger changes were happening in copy edits. So I'm hoping past pages will be a breeze, but you never know, because sometimes I just need time to think on things more and be like, actually, you know what? I do want to change that. So it always depends, but it is done for now. The copy edit version, I believe, will be what they make the advanced reader copies out of. It's very exciting. Things are pushing along forward. And yeah, I think that's that for like things I'm actually actively working on for it. How am I feeling about Butcherbirds? Very good. I think this is the I guess a bit of a difference, because, you know, Blood Like Fate is so far past its in-house section, whereas Butcherbirds is very much in the in-house buzz preparation phase, and we're like getting ready for the cover reveal and all this stuff. So there's a lot of exciting things surrounding it now, even though it is a book that's coming out later. So I feel like it's a lot easier for me to be really excited and pumped for it, because I've got all this stuff coming up. Whereas in, you know, Blood Like Fate, I've already passed that cover reveal stage a while ago. So yeah, but it's good. I'm very excited about getting to reveal the new title and the cover. I made these videos. I'm very proud of them. You will see them soon-ish. Well, quite soon, actually. Very soon. Very soon. It's all happening very soon. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, overall, I feel really good about it. It's got really great, I've heard some really great things in-house from the publisher about it, and getting excited with that. So yeah, I'm looking forward for all things Butcherbirds, which it will not be called that, but you'll learn that soon. And next up is Bear Hunt. Bear Hunt will be my 2024 novel. It will also not be called that. The title will be changed, but we haven't changed it yet. So even I don't know. What will it be? Who knows? It's gonna be a mystery. But yes, so this book I have written, so it's going to be a young adult standalone. I probably should have said that for the other things. But Blood Like Fate, you know, part of a series, I did say that. Butcherbirds is also a young adult standalone. So this Butcherbirds and Bear Hunt are in the same deal, and they're both standalones. So Bear Hunt will be coming out in 2024. I have, since I've drafted the first draft, yes, that's what I did. So yeah, it was good. I finished that draft. I also read back through the entire book, and I made all my revision notes, and now it's just resting while I work on other projects. And so I'm going to jump back into doing my self-edit on that using my revision notes in July, and then I can send it off to beta readers so that they can read during August. And then the plan is that I will do my final edit in September, before my early October deadline. I believe is it October 1st? I think it is October 1st deadline. So I should be able to get everything done within that timeline. How I'm feeling about Bear Hunt. I am feeling really good about it. I do really like it. I do think it has a really good premise. I also do like that it has more of this realistic horror feel. I feel that, you know, Butcherbirds she does see dead people, so it's got more of a, I guess, like a paranormal suspense horror feel. And I feel like Bear Hunt is a lot more thriller horror, more realistic horror, because the main character doesn't have any special abilities or anything like that. She's just like a normal person. And so I really like that difference between the two books, and I've really been enjoying that. It's just, I gotta do a lot more research on the legalities of all the police and the court stuff that I've decided to put in this book. I really need to get a lot more information about that, and that'll help. But overall, I'm feeling really good about it. I do really love the main character in the story, and I'm really happy it came together. It seems kind of wild because I put that proposal together so long ago. so long ago. I think I was on submission with Butcherbirds, which granted, Butcherbirds, I was only on submission for like 2 weeks. It was very short. But I think that's when I had written that. I was doing it during that time. So it was so long ago. It feels like it was so long ago. And it's wild now to be like, wow, I drafted that whole book. It's drafted, but very exciting. So I'm really looking forward to that one. I'm feeling good about it. And yeah, I'll be revising that in July. Now on to my secret novel project. So I have a whole vlog where I am working on this, but it is currently a secret, so I can't really say that much about it. But I can say that it is a novel and it is middle grade. And so yeah, I was working on that. So I submitted an outline that needed to be approved, and that got approved. And I don't know why I said approved before, approved. So it got approved, and so I wrote the first draft based on that, which is now finished. And then I also read through the entire thing, and I made all my revision notes, very similar to what I did for Bear Hunt. I made all my revision notes, and now it is resting. These are much lighter revision notes though. It's mostly adding like more description and like tweaking some character things in certain chapters and things like that. I actually, I stuck really well to my outline, and so I drafted this like shockingly clean. It's a shockingly clean first draft. So I have that in place, and I'm really, that turned out really well. So that's resting now. I will jump back into working on it in late June before my early July deadline. So that will be happening later on this month. How I'm feeling about the secret project? Good. I mean, I pretty much just did it, so it's still pretty fresh, but I'm feeling good about it. I really did do like a super clean draft. Like, I don't think I've ever stuck to an outline as close as I stuck to this outline. I'm doing pretty good on word count for it as well, and I don't think I have any like massive changes to do for it, but I will say this is the first book that I will be sending straight to an editor, just because of timing wise and how things go. Usually I send things to a beta reader before my agent or my editor ever sees it. Somebody else has already seen it, but in this case it's going straight to my editor. So we'll see how that goes. That will be my first experience doing that, and we'll see if I feel like I get a bit on the butt for that, if I feel like that was a mistake and I shouldn't have ever done that. So we'll see. But I think it's pretty good. It's quite clean, so I think it's gonna go over well. And now for the short stories. This is still in the contracted section, but they're short stories now. So the short story anthology, it was originally called No Harm Done. So it's a series of short stories by Black authors. The title has since changed. Titles change all the time. That's the thing to know about traditional publishing. Titles change all the time. But it is now called All These Sunken Souls, which I also think is great. I love both. So fantastic. And that is being edited by Circe Moskowitz. And so I plotted, drafted, and revised the short story all within a week, just to like try out that process of short story writing. And I found that worked really well for me because it helped me focus, and like I kept everything in 1 week, and so I was like so like lasered in to the story, which I thought was great. And then I like sent it off to beta readers right after, and then the next week I like did my little edits on it. I think in like a day. I think it only took me a day, which was great. And then I submitted that to my editor, and it's been off there, and eventually I will get it back and I will get notes and I will work on it. that short story, how I feel about it, I really love it. I'm really excited about it. I had a lot of fun with it. It's really interesting because when I've done short stories in the past, I've always done adult literary short stories. That's what I did like when I was in school and I was doing creative writing projects. I didn't go to school for creative writing or even English. I went to school for linguistics, but I took creative writing courses while I was at university, and that was everything I was writing. And so it was fun to write a genre short story, and it was really cool. I had a lot of fun with it. Yeah, and it was fun. And I think the thing about a short story versus like a horror novel is I felt like I could do some push the envelope things a little bit more with the short story than I might do with a full novel. So then it was kind of nice to be able to like stretch a different type of horror muscle and like get back into short stories. So I really liked it. I hope my editor will also really like it, and then we'll see. Those edits will come down the road. And then finally, in contracted projects, I have a secret short story. So yeah, it's a secret. All I can say really is that it's a short story. So that's kind of it. I haven't done anything for it yet. I don't believe I will be doing anything until August. I think I'm going to, in August, do my same process in which I plot, draft, and revise the short story all in 1 week, because I thought that did work really well for me when I did that before. So I'm going to do that process again. I do have an idea of what I'm going to write about. In this particular case, it can be any genre, and so I decided on sci-fi because yeah, I thought it would be fun to do like a straight sci-fi, so I'm getting to do that. Assuming that the editor likes the idea. So maybe not, but hopefully they will. And so I have an idea for that. It was actually an idea that I had already had, but I didn't have a lot of ideas about how I would flesh out like a full-fledged novel for it. None that I liked anyway. And so when this came up, I was like, oh, I could totally use that and it would work out really well. So I have an idea for that. And I wrote a little snippet the other day for it because I was watching Love, Death, and Monsters. Robots. Love, Death, and Robots I was watching. Which the story I was watching, the show I was watching, like the short that I was watching, so completely far off from the story I would be writing, but it did like spark a little nugget of inspiration, and so I wrote a little snippet. And I really liked it. It made me like really get a good idea for like the attitude of the main character and the like person that they're kind of facing off against. And it like gave me a really good idea, and I really, really liked it. And I know it was only like a 200-word snippet, but I'm a big fan of it. So I'm feeling really good and positive about that already. Now we're on to the uncontracted projects. And I'm going to start with one that like technically feels like it's contracted because I do in fact need to get it done this year, because I was awarded a grant from the Canada Arts Council to work on it. So I will be finishing it this year, but it is not contracted by a publisher. It hasn't sold. But yeah, that is my DarkAcademia project. Yes. I was like, do I want to say my working title? And I'm like, no, not yet. I want to see how it is when I write it, if I actually like the working title still. But I did come up with a working title for it. Again, I expect it to be changed if it ever sold. But, you know, I like to have something to work with. And I felt like probably it couldn't go on submission as #DarkAcademia book, that I would probably need to choose a title, so I picked one. But anyway, so the DarkAcademia project, so far I've been doing a lot of preliminary stuff, so research things, I've been doing some character things. I did this really cool like character like PowerPoint thing that I'm very, very proud of. I think it looks really nice. I'm really excited about it. It's the first time I've done something like that, and I think it's so cool. I think it looks really nice. But it has so many spoilers in it. I don't know if I would ever get to show it. I'd really have to like censor it, but like I'm very excited about it. I think it's super cool. Anyway, so I've done that. I've been doing some other preliminary research things. I have a research trip to Kingston that I will be going on, I believe, next week when this video is being posted. And so that'll be happening, and then I'll get to do all my like on the ground research in Kingston. That'll be my like super heavy lifting research. I've really done more preliminary things, character work, and like some stuff to prep for when I'm in Kingston, so I know where I want to go and like all different stuff I want to do and what I want to research and that sort of thing. But that'll be my heavy lifting research period, and then I'm planning to use most of June to plot, at least to do like a preliminary plotting so I can kind of get a good idea, and then I'll probably do more research and then later on go back over my plotting to check and make sure that yeah, this is what I want to do and this fits in with everything, and then I'll actually get to doing the drafting. So it's very, very in its initial phases right now as I kind of work through all the characters and everything. I do kind of plan for, the funding and the grant and everything is to work on doing a first draft of the first book, but I am planning to pitch this as a trilogy, and so I'm also really trying to think about the other books and what I want the other books to look like. And so that's why I have to do so much of this initial research, because I'm not just researching for the first book, I'm really researching for all 3 books, because my kind of pie in the sky dream and plan is to go on submission with this and already know what all 3 books are going to be about, and have the first book written. So first book written and all 3 books, I know what all of them are going to be about, so I have all that information going in, and that way any changes can kind of be shifted around. But I think it'll be really helpful to have that full scope of what this series is going to look like right from the beginning, and that way it'll make it easier for me to like put in a bunch of Easter eggs and things like that, and like hints and like foreshadowing, knowing how the entire thing is supposed to come together right from the start. So that is why I have to do so much research for this, potentially the most research I've ever done for a project, because I'm really trying to nail it. And this is the project that I am hoping to show to my publisher as my option, off the back of my last deal. So this is what I'm hoping to show to them next. So I'm really trying to like get into it, get deep into it, and to make sure that I'm doing something that feels really good to me, but also feels differentiated from the Dark Academia that is already out there in the market. And it's going to be, to me, like I'm making it a very much a mix of fantasy and horror, and I'm really hoping it'll like, if it sold, I'm really hoping it would pull in both people that enjoyed the Blood Like Magic series and people that would maybe hopefully enjoy the other 2 books that I have coming out. And so I'm hoping it'll really be a combination of everything. So that's where I'm at with that project. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's been one of those things where I haven't like formally, I haven't like been like, well, this is what I'm working on this week, but I have been like low-key working on it this whole time. So yeah, I'm very, very excited about it. I think it's going to be a really cool project. I know plotting is like my favorite phase of the writing process, and so I'm really, really excited about it, because I'm doing all this pre-plotting and planning and researching phase for it, but I am really excited about it. I think it's going to be really cool. So I'm looking forward to getting to do more of that research and the research trip, and then getting to draft that later on. And finally, the last project to talk about in Uncontracted is the Newlyweds. So if you've been following me on my channel, you've probably been following this saga, but to short form it for you, I decided last year that I wanted to write an adult horror. And this was something that I applied for funding for. I had gotten approved. I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna write this adult horror. Wrote it, hated it, absolutely hated what I had produced, couldn't stand it, decided, okay, I just need to write a new book. So I had to contact my grant people and be like, I'm gonna write a different book, but a lot of the themes were crossing over and things like that. I got approved for that. Okay, now I'm writing this one. So I write the Newlyweds. and I wrote it all. So it's like, it was a home invasion horror thriller. So I read it all the way through. I'm feeling good about it. I went through betas, and well, I actually haven't worked on it this year. Anyway, I'm getting to that. So this is the past. This is the past of the Newlyweds. I worked on it, I edited it, I worked on it with betas, I edited it again, I sent it to my agent. There was something in the back of my mind I was kind of worried about. My agent, in her infinite wisdom, was like, but what about this thing? And it was the thing I was worrying about. And I was like, And the thing was that one element was so core to the story that to take it out changed the whole story, and like a lot of things fell apart. And I just kind of very early this year was like, I need to rewrite it. So that's kind of where I'm at now. I need to rewrite it. The adult horror struggle has been so real, but I understand that, you know, I write young adult, and I think a middle grade shift is different than an adult shift, and I've really been like struggling to figure out what I'm doing, which is funny because I wrote adult literary short stories, so I have written adult before, but yeah, I've just been kind of struggling to make the story I want to work. And I think also something with the Newlyweds is I didn't have an awesome sense of setting, and so I created this fictional setting, and I think that pulled away a lot as well. And I think kind of a big strength of my works is, you know, the novel length works is kind of that grounding in like a real setting, and I do think that's something that's very much lacking. So anyway, I'm thinking this come full circle to this year. Again, I realized I needed to rewrite it, and then my project load came in, and I realized I don't have time to work on this year. I don't have time. I have all of my contracted stuff, which was a lot, as you could see, and then I also have my DarkAcademia, which even though it isn't like contracted, it's not sold, it is in a way contracted because I have a grant for it. I do need to finish it this year, and so it just like there was no more room for me to work on this project. I already have to draft 3 books this year. I couldn't add a 4th, especially when I have to like redo it and refigure it out. There just isn't any time. So the Newlyweds has been postponed for 2022, but I do hope that I can work on it next year. I'm gonna kind of wait until a little bit later in the year to see how my workload is gonna be next year before I kind of decide on this, but I do want to work on it next year. I am hoping to do some traveling so that I can go somewhere, so that I can get that strong sense of setting that I feel is really missing, and like be able to pull over some things from the Newlywed that I think worked well in terms of character, and like pull that into this new rewrite, and like come out with something new that actually works. And so I have been pondering on it in my free time, so I have been thinking about it and thinking in that ways, but I don't have time to actively work on it. So that's my only project that has been postponed for the year. And I guess technically I was like talking about a Blood Like Magic spin-off, but I think I ended up postponing that last year, so that wasn't even a this year decision. I had already postponed it by the time I got to this year, and my workload built up. So yes, that is all for the Newlyweds. So not the end of it, and I still think there was a lot gained from the process of writing the Newlyweds. I think it's just like it really needs to be reshifted and reworked significantly. And that is it for my mid-year writing project update. Yeah, it's very weird because for me, on my day-to-day, I tend to be very focused on what I'm working on now and what I'm going to be working on. And so it's very easy for me to forget what I've already worked on the more that time passes. And so this is also great for me because I'm like, oh yeah, I did do all of that stuff. That did all happen during this time. Yeah, because it's very easy to lose sight of that. But so far this year, I have drafted 2 novels and 1 short story. I have 1 more novel and short story to draft, and then all of that editing to do in there somewhere. Revisions will happen. I've just been kind of shifting planning as things come, because some things I won't know when I'm gonna get back notes about them, and so I can't necessarily be like, well, I'm going to work on this at this time because I'm not really sure. So I'll shift around my writing schedule as needed. But yeah, this is a workload that I can definitely handle, but it is also like the max. I wouldn't take on any more than this because I think that would be a lot. But it's been really good. I feel really, I feel really happy and like privileged to have all of these things on the go for myself. Like I remember last year in November, I was like, well, this is kind of all I'm going to be working on next year. And it was like 2 projects. And I was like, yeah, that's all I'll have to do. Maybe 3. That's kind of what I had planned, and I was like, well, then we'll see what else I'm going to work on. And then kind of in December, a bunch of things came up and things really changed for the better, but it really changed. So yeah, it's really good. I'm excited for everything that I've got on the go. And yeah, that'll be it for this mid-year, and I guess we'll see you at the end of the year. I don't know if I'm going to do some sort of final project wrap-up or what I'm going to do with that, but I will figure something out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!